While Dustin Poirier confirmed his retirement on Saturday night with an epic fight against Max Bless Holloway, we need to know who Max is fighting next. Does he defend the BMF or does he chase the undisputed champion Ilia Topuria, who knocked him out in the fight before this one? What next for Brendan Allen, Vittori, Paulo Costa, and the other fighters from the UFC 318 card? Welcome everyone. It's Matchmaker Monday where I play Dana White and Sean Shelby. Sit back, relax. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel if you are returning, and big up if this is the first time you have stumbled across the Sanderson Show. If it's the first time, please do smash the like button and subscribe for more shows like this and much more. And if you're returning, please do smash that like button. On the road to 8,000 subscribers, and would love for you to embark on this journey with me. Gotta start off by shouting out people in the chat. Shout out to Football with Ends, guys, subscribe to his channel. Don Edward Chapman, big up yourself. I'm not doing that. Big up to yourself, Gene. Hope you and the family are well. Shout out to Bonkers, CJ, and Scraps, and Keanu as well. Do smash that like button if you're in the building, people. Look, UFC 318 was a good event. I gave it a 5 out, an average event, I would say. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I think the main event was incredible. I thought the Kevin Holland fight was good. I don't think it was amazing. I thought it was a good, fun fight. The Costa fight was decent. Michael Johnson fight was okay. And the Ige Pitbull fight wasn't the greatest. So the main card for me is a 5 out of 10. The prelims were brilliant, though. Those prelims were excellent. The prelims, I'll be honest, probably about a 9 out of 10 for the prelims. They were brilliant prelims. But I'm going to play the role of matchmaker after UFC 318, and my job is to matchmake some of these fights from fighters that fought on the 318 card. So I'm going to start with the person who won the main event, and that is Max Bless Holloway. I want to cheat a little bit here. I think there's two options for Max. Does he pursue the BMF or continue defending the BMF title, or does he pursue the UFC lightweight undisputed championship against Ilia Topuria, the man and the only man to knock him out so far in his career? If he's going to go down the route of chasing gold, then for me, I think the next fight to make is him versus Arman Tsarukyan. If he's going to go down the route of defending the BMF belt, then I think Charles Oliveira deserves a crack at that belt. Now, he hasn't got much to gain from the Oliveira win. He already has a win over Oliveira, even though, it's a bit shady. Oliveira said he was injured. And we've just seen Oliveira flatlined in the octagon by the same man that beat Max. And that fight wasn't even close, whereas the Max fight, up until he got stopped, was close. So I don't know how much he's got to gain from that Oliveira fight. Oliveira is higher in the rankings, but as I said, Oliveira is coming off the back of a loss. Arman Tsarukyan for me versus Max would be a fantastic fight. A grappler versus striker. For me, it really let me know a lot about Max at lightweight. From a striking perspective, he pieces up most of the lightweights. Probably all of them, apart from Ilia. But we don't know about his grappling and how he'll deal with that at lightweight. Will he be able to be held down at lightweight? Because no one could really hold him down at 45. He could be taken down, but no one could hold him down. Could Arman Tsarukyan take him down and hold him down? Would there be a threat of a submission? Again, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen Max tapped out since Dustin Poirier in his debut. I might be wrong there. If I'm wrong, do let me know, guys. So, I don't know. Shout out to CJ, says, Coward, please tell me you ain't one of those folks who want to see Holloway versus Ilia again. Light work for Ilia, in my opinion. If Max earns it, I would like to see it again. And shall I tell you why? I'm not making an excuse for Max, sorry. But I do think he was maybe a little weight drained at 45, but so was Ilya. Max, for me, has shown he can take a better shot at 55. And he's come up against two of the hardest hitters in Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, and he's been fine. Won those fights convincingly. Again, Ilya is a different animal when it comes to the strike. Ilya's just a different animal, full stop. But I'll be honest, in that lightweight division at the moment, now that Islam Makhachev is pursuing heavyweight glory, sorry, welterweight glory, I'll be honest, Max versus Ilya for me is the most compelling fight. I know Paddy versus Ilya is maybe the most lucrative fight, but Ilya versus Max is again intriguing for me. Liam says don't want to see Max out cold again. I hear it. There's very real chance of it happening. But again, if there's anyone that's going to beat Ilya, it's probably going to be Max, especially if he varies some of his attacks as well. And he was getting to Ilya in that first fight. CJ was like, Islam versus Aspinall, heavyweight glory. That would be insane. Big up to yourself, N90. Guys, subscribe to N90's channel. Hope you and the family are well as well, bro. So for me, if I was matchmaking, I would go Sarukian versus Max. And again, if Sarukian wins that fight, then I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind that he gets the title shot next. And I think it puts him back in good graces with the UFC as well. On to a potential rematch after we saw two fighters fight at the weekend, and that is Paulo Costa versus Adesanya 2. Now, we all remember how the first fight ended. Israel absolutely just destroyed him, then embarrassed him after the fight was stopped. If you know, you know. However, Adesanya hasn't looked his best since he lost to Sean Strickland. Since then, he's also lost to Dracus du Plessis and also lost to Imavov. Paulo Costa is coming off the back of a win, whereas Adesanya is on a 3-fight skid at the moment. If there ever is a time to rematch these two, I think it's now. Costa's a lot lower in the rankings. However, Adesanya, in my opinion, will have to fight down in the rankings. You can't fight up in the rankings. So for me, Adesanya versus Costa 2 makes sense at this stage of their careers. You're going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to matchmake two middleweights that came up with decision losses, and that is Koplyov and Vettori. I think that them two fighting could be a good fight. I think Vettori fought very well against Brendan Allen. However, Brendan Allen was just a little bit more crisp with his technique and more accurate. So I think that could be a really good fight. Vettori versus Koplyov. In terms of the winner of the fight between Vettori and Brendan Allen winning in his hometown, I would actually go Brendan Allen versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I want to double check quickly if Anthony Hernandez actually has a fight booked in before I even make this one. Hernandez. He does. Scrap that then. So it won't be Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. I think you go Brendan Allen. Oh, here's the thing. Anthony Hernandez is fighting the lead. Say Cannonier's matched up, Bahalio's matched up, Whitaker's matched up. I've just matched up Adesanya with Costa. Chimaev is fighting for the belt, and Imavov is fighting Kai Bahalio. Oh, it'd be really harsh on Brendan Allen to have to fight down in the rankings again. It'd be really harsh. I'd say he gets the winner of Delize and Hernandez then. That fight's in less than a month's time. Brendan Allen versus the winner of Delize and Anthony Hernandez. That's what I think should happen. In terms of Kevin Holland coming off a loss, which I don't think many people suspected to happen. But shout out to Daniel Rodriguez. It was very good. Won decisively, in my opinion, and deserved the win. So for me, his next fight should be against Gabriel Bonfim. Bonfim coming off a controversial win against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I'd like to see those two fight, two strikers predominantly. And I think Kevin Holland needs to get back in the winning column. And I wouldn't be surprised, as I said, if he tries to break the record for most fights in a calendar year in the UFC with 6. He's already on 4. And I wouldn't be surprised, given that it's July, if he fights at least 2 more times this year. We know Kevin Holland's game to fight anyone. Daniel Rodriguez, who came in with a clutch victory at the weekend, I would match him up with Randy Rude Boy Brown. Randy Brown's last win was against Nicholas Dalby, a phenomenal knockout win, one of the knockouts of the year. And I know his hand is healing from an injury at the moment, but he's starting to get back in the gym, I believe, and starting to hit pads and the bag again. I would match up Rodriguez with Randy Rude Boy Brown. And if Brown is able to get that win, he'll be then in at the top 15, and then you can see some real fun fights with Brown. If Rodriguez gets the win against Brown, then I think Rodriguez cements himself as a top 15 fighter, and then you give him someone high ranked, in my opinion. Pitbull Patricio, in my opinion, was involved in probably the snooze fest of the night. However, you can understand, given that his last fight was against Rodriguez, didn't put a great performance in and needed to get the W this time. And he was up against a game opponent in Danny Ige, someone who can hit very hard and switch your lights off. I would match up Pitbull with Lerone Murphy next. I know he called out Aaron Pico. Because Pico's not ranked, it doesn't give a fair assessment as where he is. If Patricio is really chasing that Volkanovski fight, I think he needs to fight Lerone Murphy. And for Lerone Murphy, it'd be a brilliant scout to get if he's able to beat Patricio. A big name in the history of MMA, a big name at 45. And I think he would put him very, very close to getting a title shot of Volkanovski. So that's the way I'd go. I'd go Pitbull versus the Miracle Man, Lerone Murphy. For Ige, I would match him up against Calvin Kattar. I think that fight would make sense. Two brawlers, two strong men, two men who've got very good boxing and very good power. I think that could be a fun fight. For Zell Huber, I would go Bahamondes. Both fights coming off a loss. And Zell Huber, I think, really needs to figure out how he wants to approach these fights, because he called out Michael Johnson and was really disrespectful to him. And he got schooled in there, if we're going to be honest. Got really schooled. So, I don't know. Shout out to Liam, says, rough day for Adesanya if Costa fights like that. Very true. However, Izzy's footwork, etc., I don't know if Costa will be able to land with as many shots like that. Ant says, did you see the Wonderboy fight? I did. I thought Wonderboy was robbed personally. I think Wonderboy should have got the decision there. But yes, Zell Huber versus Bahamondes. And the last fight I'd make would be, in my opinion, a very fun fight. Two veterans of the sport. That is Michael Johnson versus King Bobby Green. Can you imagine them two in the build-up? Can you imagine them two in the octagon just talking? Both strikers. I don't even think we'd see a takedown attempt here. It would be striking, it would be boxing, it would be kickboxing, it would be Muay Thai, it would be clenches, it would be knees. Both are quick. Both can fight at both stances. I'm not going to lie. I know they're on the other side of their peak, but honestly, Michael Johnson versus Bobby King Green for me would be a very, very fun fight. So, people, that's it from me. That's been Matchmaker Monday. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with those fights, if there's any other fights or different fights you'd make. I will be back later on tonight with MMA Monday. Just going through some of the news and some of the talking topics, only for about 20 minutes before I go on Monty's show. So that'll be after the Monday Night Live show on Kopish, and then before the show I do with Mons on the Big Six Band channel. People, please do smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Yes, my neighbor's dog is going. He's going a bit crazy. I don't know why, but it's what he does. But no, smash the like, please, people. Big up to every single one of you who've watched and listened. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Till I see you again. Mind how you go, and thank you for watching the Sanderson Show. Take care.